it like me? All right, I guess we're on, or at least we think we are. So welcome. Basically, going to talk today a little bit about Azure basics, just the basic introduction, my experience with using it, and really ask any and try and answer any questions that we have basics about it. I do not have extensive experience with Azure. I do not have a huge deployment scenario, but I do have, as a developer for SCG, a desire to learn about Azure. My reluctance in learning about Azure was cost. You know, how do I get started? How do I actually, you know, tackle this behemoth? So I wanted to kind of get into a little bit about that. Welcome. And more pizza.
Oh. You guys need more? We're all out now. I'll get 2, 3 more.
Just a couple
Sounds
more,
great.
I think, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I wanted to kind of get kind of a feel from everybody. My reluctance is what is Azure? I wanted to ask just a simple question for the group. When you guys hear the word Azure or cloud computing, what do you think that is, or what do you perceive it to be? Confusing?
Huge data centers. Microsoft's answer to AWS, right? Amazon Web Services.
Okay. Anyone else?
Scalability.
Okay. For me, my perception was putting something on the cloud. Run it from everywhere? Yeah. My earliest thing I can recall about cloud computing, at least with Azure, was I was attending a conference a few years back. And basically, I'm into video games occasionally. And they had the Titanfall release on the Xbox. And I was shocked that they had a server running for every user. And they spun it up on the cloud to handle volume. And I was impressed because on game launch day, a lot of games struggle because of server capacity and load. And I was impressed that they were up, they were running, they didn't have any lag issues, they didn't have any scalability issues because the cloud absorbed it. As I understand too, the regional centers, they have 600,000 computers running in each regional center. And all of those are running VMs. And so the scale of this is huge. They can absorb a lot. And of course, it's the cloud with Netflix. They went onto AWS. So market share wise, if you were actually to Google it, they're basically, they have the greatest ramp up right now. They're number 2 in the AWS strategy, cloud computing. So anyway, so I wanted to tackle this more as a developer. And my focus has been, how can I use this? And so these are some of the things that they offer. I have it, but I'm just going to come up here. Just over here. Okay, so out of the box for free, you get up to 10 websites free. You get a notification hub of 1 million push notifications per month. You get a mobile engagement. You can search. This one really intrigued me, was machine learning. Free activities of Data Factory. Haven't learned more about that one, but love to. 50 users, a virtual network. We'll talk a little more about that. Azure Active Directory. Talk a little bit more about that. Build and ship any software. Scheduler, automation, log analytics.
So you're saying for no cost at all,
for no cost.
Obligation, I can go on if I want to run my own little website, or
Yep.
a small company wants to run a website, they can do
All of
Azure
that
for free.
All that for free.
Storage is the other component to this, though, right?
Yes, yes. But if you just want a simple website, so for example, well, I'll get into the examples. I'll stay on track here. No, you're fine. So for free, or there's a few other ways to do this. They have an offering here called an action pack. If I was a small company, Basically, for $475 per year, I can get up to 10 enterprise upgrade licenses, create applications, and more importantly, I get 10 Office 365 seats, and more importantly, I get something called Azure credit of $100. Okay, per month. So $100 per month is really nice. Well, what's even better for a developer, they added this new feature in Visual Studio. So I get to log in. I have my account settings, that type of stuff. I can upgrade license. But more importantly, this is the Enterprise Edition with an MSDN license. So it's the premium one, or it's the top-notch one, the Enterprise Edition. But with that one, I get $150 a month. Oh, I have to log back out. So I'm going to show you that right here. So for those of you who have seen Azure, there's two sites. There is the Manage Azure and the portal. And so this is the old site. It's been a little outdated, and there are all of the functionality that was in Azure is still here. But they constantly are telling you to go to the new site. So this is the new site. And so logged into my account, I'm going to wait for this to show up here. Okay, so on the new site, I have a lot more space to do things. Oh, come on. It's got to be the streaming that I'm doing too. Okay, so on the old side, I'm going to point this out. See this right here? So right now, as a license, it says I have $150 credit. Whenever you sign up into Azure, you'll have some type of credit of something, $25, $100. After you do the trial license, all your free sites will still run. All these free stuff that you got that I advertise for free will still work. You're just limited. And it's actually pretty nice too, because as long as you stay under that subscription and you try to use a paid service, it just won't work. It just won't run, it won't work until you put money. So they have different types of plans. They have a subscription service like this. So I get 150 credit. And it says I only have 27 days. Well, guess what? At the end of 27 days, because it's on a still monthly subscription, it just resets and I have 30 again. So there's no hurt there. This is for an MSDN license. But there's another pricing model, and that's the one that was scary for me. There's a pay-as-you-go. You have to supply a credit card, and they will charge it. And if you don't have some type of enterprise agreement with them, then it's the full retail price, and that's the one that gets pricey. And so, for example, we'll get into it in detail, but if I put a virtual machine on and I left it running all the time, and it was a really nice box, I can easily burn $1,000 for just that one machine per month. But with a credit, and I'll show you how the pricing looks, with this credit, with an average size box, I can easily get 3 virtual machines on that I'm comfortable using for this $150 credit. Okay, but for now I don't need that. We'll talk more about that. First off, so here's the old site and here's the new site. And the way they've done it is, as I click on things, you'll see here, it just scales left and right. And so it's a much better experience for putting a lot on a screen. And it just keeps scaling and scaling. Okay, so I'll get into some of that. Back to this. Another option. It's my benefits. And so, even though, let's say I had an MSDN license, but I didn't have this full enterprise of $100 a month, I believe, and we'll get it here in a second, I believe you can get up to $25 a month without much problems, just having a professional license. Yeah, it's got to be the connection, and comes up a lot faster.
If only they ran their cloud on AWS.
Something like
I
that,
had to
yes.
say that, you
I know you did.
You're gonna get in trouble.
I know, well, that's nothing changed. I've gone all day and not gotten in trouble yet. I felt a little bad.
So I'm going to come to this. So just so you know, so let's look at this. So I have all this right now on my site. I am offering up 4 websites, 4 free websites. And I don't have much going on in the sense I am playing with some storage, and I am going to hope that it loads my service. So in the meantime, while that's loading, we'll go ahead and talk about some concepts. So kind of important in most of your cloud computing services, there's a hurdle, something I had to get over. And the training I had this summer really helped with that. In Azure, you think of this. If we're going to go and rent a hotel room, we're paying the night of the hotel room. If we're going and renting an entire hotel, which we talk about as a cloud service, so the hotel room is an app service. The entire hotel is a cloud service. Okay, you got the cost of renting the entire hotel, or you got the cost of buying a home. Now, if I buy a home, it's like a virtual machine. Okay, so there's an important concept here. The pricing scale for an app service is free, relatively inexpensive. Your website can scale. You can go to a production quality stage and prod, but it's relatively inexpensive. Cloud services is a shell for all of those. It's a group of app services. In the new website, they introduced a concept called resource groups. And what they did was, let's say you wanted to, in a hotel, you wanted to house the marching band, and you needed several hotel rooms, and you wanted to move them around to various hotels. You can do so as a resource group. But if you wanted to have just a collection of app services, then that's called a cloud service. So it's a very different type of concept. The resource group is more of managing a kind of a group, a collection of important resources together. But a cloud service is just more generic. It's just a grouping of app services. So you can almost use them interchangeably, but in the new site, they're trying to get rid of the concept of cloud services. They really want you to think of it as a resource group. Okay. The next thing, service fabric. Think of it as just a blanket over a whole bunch of services. Okay. Additionally, in Azure, one of the coolest things why I like Azure is you can actually export and import your Active Directory group of users. You can use an Active Directory group online. For those of you with skills in that area, it is really nice. You can actually connect locally to the cloud's Active Directory to manage users. I won't go into too much more with that, but it allows you to manage people with the very same skill set that other people have acquired for Active Directory. When you're on Azure, you'll have a virtual network and a default directory. It's just kind of, you don't pay for it. It's just kind of given to you. So when I log in and I create something, you'll see this default active service plan. I'll also have a virtual network. And you'll see some of these. So you'll have a lot of shells, as best I could describe. So one of the things that intrigued me as a developer in Azure was storage capacity. I thought, okay, what can I actually do? What does it actually cost me? How can I develop against it? And so Azure has the concept of a storage. So if we go ahead and start using Azure for a minute, and these are some of the options. So I could, of course, do some networking. I can add a virtual network, a load balancer. I can do storage. We'll go ahead and talk about this one. So we'll go ahead and create a storage account. Okay. So we'll call this Dan Storage 4. Okay. Just general purpose. Something important here, replication. By default, Azure, of course, is all over the place. You can go zone. So think of a zone as like the United States. Locally redundant is just your one regional area. Think of the geo-redundant, it's geographically, just kind of a northwest area, or read access. So it's a little cheaper. This actually depends on your costs because there's a lot of redundancy built into Azure. So when you publish a free website, you're going to be on a single box. You're going to be probably locally redundant. So you're actually on multiple boxes, so you can get up quickly. But you're not going to have a lot of the what happens if the site goes down. The site could go down. It's free for all we care. Now the subscription is something you'll have to have set up. For example, I have the Visual Studio Enterprise. I'm going to use the local resource group. Come on.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Besides of the Google and Amazon that use the cloud, I've heard that Amazon and Google using the cloud.
Yes.
So how about the security?
So the security on that, let's finish through this and then we'll talk about the security. So right now I have created a storage. Boy, it is slower on that. There it is. Okay. So you can see it does take time to run to launch. So there's my storage. Okay. So in here, security, you have access keys. Okay. So as a developer, I would go ahead and launch Visual Studio. Okay. And I would create a new console application, for example. Okay. And then I would do a manage NuGet packages. I'm gonna, for the sake of time, and since this is a basic, I'm gonna go back to my sample, okay? So basically what's happening here is after I load the project and my application settings, I would simply come into here, define the Dan storage. We'll put Dan storage, we'll just leave 2. I'd put the access key. So of course, I would want to keep that private. And then I'd run it. And this is all that it's doing. So what I've done is I've got a client, just like any other code that you've done. I've got...
Can you make the text just a little bigger?
Yeah. It's all right. Okay. So I've accessed the storage account, connection string. I got the client. Then on the client, I gain a container. And this will actually create it if it doesn't exist. I put a concept of a blob on my container. and then I call it. I want to call it minion.jpg. I grab the file, and then I upload it. And that is it. So now, over here, come on. Where's my containers?
It's right there. Container 1 is right there on the right side.
Oh, thank you. I, of course, get nervous. So today is 12/24. There's my minion JPEG. Okay. Notice the URL. And there's my JPEG. Okay. So the point is this that I'm trying to make is storage will let you do files. It'll let you do blobs. It'll let you do encryption. You can actually encrypt the actual image stored on the location. You can also throttle it. You can also you have not only that, but you have redundancy. There's a lot of options, and I'm going to show just a brief few of those here on the site. I don't want to get into too much detail, but you can see how it scrolls here in the container. There are properties. There is encryption. I can enable it. I can disable it. I can do some automation, shared access. Anyway, the point is what you think you can do, you likely can do in Azure. This one was kind of interesting, access tier. Hot versus cold. Hot means it's constantly being accessed. Cold means it's kind of just sitting there as content. And so if I was storing a whole bunch of pictures or something like that. And so that's kind of the way storage works. What's interesting to me, and I should point this out, is during the training I was at with how to code against Azure, the site, they had us, every time you go into Visual Studio, if you notice in the updates, it'll say update the SDK, Azure in 2.9 or something SDK if you're in Visual Studio. You should really use the NuGet packages, not the SDKs. The SDKs are nice, but the NuGet packages will stay up to date for you a lot faster. Because there are breaking changes, for example, between 2.7 and 2.8. But now we're on 2.9, so back to that. So next one that I thought was interesting was in the storage, for example, they have a lot of tools. So they have a storage emulator. So this is a locally running app that lets you look at your storage. So you can see right here. There's our minion we uploaded today. Okay. Another thing they have is while I'm coding, let's say I'm not connected to the cloud. Okay. And I wanted to code against kind of a mocked cloud. Let's say I don't even have an Azure setup account and I wanted to code against it. I can actually code against their emulator. And this lets me code directly against the Azure cloud. There's commands, you can play with this, you can add stuff, you can initialize. I mean, it lets you code directly against.
Was that actually stored on your local hard drive then?
Yes. So it's not really in the cloud. So I'm completely disconnected. Some options. Another one that I thought was interesting, well, database. That's another reason go to the cloud, right? But more importantly is firewall. So let's go ahead and set up a database for a minute. This will also give you a chance to see some pricing. So if I go and do a database, I like a SQL database occasionally. Oh, what do we want to call this thing? STG example. They get kind of picky on some of the names, by the way. We'll just use this. I'm going to use the sample database. And I'm waiting on them to get the new 2016 in. Server admin, we'll just call SQL admin, password. Okay, so notice this. They use a concept of S2. And so notice they don't put, oh, they're loading pricing right now. You have a concept of premium, standard, and you can see, oh, if I wanted up to a terabyte of geo-replication, point-to-point, and auditing, I would have really expensive out of my credit limit, but I can select it.
That says $16,000, right?
Yes,
Okay.
per month.
Sure.
So I'm gonna go to view all. Okay, so you can see I'm like, okay, I really don't need a premium. Now DTUs are a metric that they use relational to everything else. Okay, so think of you're running percentage wise. Here, oh, I think I can afford that one. Okay. But if I were to look at this number 5, it really doesn't mean anything beyond that this is 10 times the better computer or 10 times the better environment is really what it means. Okay. Here's some more pizza.
Still absolutely starving.
Oh, no, just put it over there. So this one here is what I'm going to select. Now, granted, keep one thing in mind here. Even though it might be $15,000 a month, if I only need it for a day, and I just want a powerful box for a day, that's what the benefit of the cloud is. I can get it, I can use it, then I can delete it. If I only need it for 4 hours, I can get it, delete it. Yes?
Can you schedule that, or do you have to manually turn it off?
You have to manually turn it off, but there are some PowerShell options to automate that. One of the concepts that was really awesome, we'll get into it in detail, was during class, we had some guys in the class that were using, they were using virtual machines for their development environment. They only needed them 8 hours of the 24-hour day. So they were only on for 8 hours. And they just, whenever they had an administrator go and shut off all the virtual machines every day. So for them, it was a very cost-effective approach. So I overlooked it. Oh, create. There we go.
So do you get any storage with the free?
You know, I honestly don't know. I think you do get some. At least on the free one, I think you got so much bandwidth type of stuff with the free stuff. So earlier it was creating, and it'll create here in a minute. It's got an asynchronous thread going on. But I did create one earlier, and I'd want to wait for our other one. So while we're waiting, grab some pizza, guys.
What do we got over there?
We got solid pizza here.
This looks like chicken of some kind.
Pepperoni on the pepperoni on the bottom. Pepperoni on the bottom.
The combination. What's up? There you go. You got it. You got it?
You better read it. They went and got it.
Yeah.
It's really good. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we're getting pizza, STG example did show up, so there it is.
Okay.
So now we have STG example. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Now let's say I'm wanting to develop locally. So I've got my SQL Management Studio up here. And what I've got to do is, oh, this is the server name. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and connect. As long as I remember my password. Oh, but look at this. The client is not allowed to access the server. So it's secured right now. Unless I come over here and I go to Firewall Rules. So out of the box, within a resource group or a cloud service, they can access. So my website, if I was publishing it here, can automatically see that as long as I set it up on my virtual network. They can automatically see that database. And so you don't have to worry about it. However, in this case, yep, there it is. Set firewall. Okay, notice this. This is my client IP address right here. I remember right. Do a range, of course. Oh, there it is, add client IP. Okay, so I can go ahead and delete this one. So right here is the add client IP up there. Save. Okay, oh, it finally updated. Now, of course, I just connected. And voila, there is my sample database.
I'm sorry, did you say you could do a range?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you notice right here, I can do a range of computers. A start and an end. So voila, I'm up and running. And there's my query against that database locally. Okay. You can see right here too, DTU percentage, that type of stuff. Again, it's a metric. So it'll cap around 5 for load and capacity, which is all that I had. It's just a magic number in my opinion that they use, but it's relative to each other. So there I am with SQL Server. Another one that I thought was interesting was one of the strong points of Azure is your ability to integrate with Visual Studio. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and publish a site. So this one here, I do want to play around with that. And many of you may have tried this. Let's go ahead and do it now. So if I wanted a web app, and let's say I wanted a web API, or I could probably even try core. I'm not going to go there today. So web app 17. Okay, notice this. Okay, so this is my first introduction. I can change authentication. If I used Windows authentication, I could do that, but I have to set up Azure Active Directory. For now, I'm just going to do individual accounts or just really no authentication. But I do want to click it host in the cloud. And notice the concept we talked about, it was an app service. So by default, this is going to be a free site. I'm safe to do this. However, if I wanted to set it up with an actual virtual machine, remember how we had this S4, S something on the SQL Server? Well, the V1 right here is the pricing strategy of V1. So if I selected that, then I would get charged the monthly rate of that virtual machine installed on that box of the category V1. So that's what it means. So for now, I'm just going to do an app service. And I'm just going to set it up. Now, here's what's awesome. Because I'm logged into my Azure account, and it would prompt me to log in, it automatically sets up my app name, which I really don't want to be that one. We'll just call it STG example. Okay. My resource group is fine. I'm going to use my default. And this F1 is the same type of thing. Okay. You have to watch these is all I'm getting at. And I will go ahead and create. Notice there was an export. You can actually manage all of your deployments of the website as a separate configuration file. So let's say you had an existing site and you had an Azure admin over here. The Azure admin can simply take their site that they set up without your code. They can export the configuration settings, and then you can just come into Visual Studio and immediately turn your normal website into a cloud app site just by importing those Azure, okay, so that you can publish. So over here, so right, where is it? I think it's, come on. I don't think it's in my packages, but it might be. It's just starting up. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure. I believe. Oh, there it is. No, it added application insights to me. I forgot to uncheck that. It just takes longer to deploy. But it's a good thing because application insights with Azure actually provides a lot more metrics, a lot more gathering of data of your website's statistics. So I'm just going to run it for a second just to show you it's running locally and to prove that to me it's running locally. Of course, I'm running on, got a lot up right now. And there it is, and I can hit API. So the next thing I want to do is come out here, and I want to right-click as soon as it stops. And I will publish it. All right, so one of the core things you could do is you could do file system and FTP. We'll just do a web deploy. And notice all of this. My connections are all in here. And the password's really long. Next, release, publish. Of course, we'll wait on my box. I'm just curious. Yeah, I think it's my network with the Google Hangouts. Now notice this. It called right here. Right here. This is actually doing a deploy, and I'll highlight this. A lot of any interaction with Azure can be done by the command line. They've really, really empowered Azure by command line. It's awesome. But you can see right here.
Have access to your application right now.
Yes, you can go ahead and log in right there if you want. STG example Azure website.net. Go ahead.
You're not
No, but go ahead and try it if somebody wouldn't mind just confirming to me that you can see it.
How do you make in the Azure say, hey, in the cloud, this application just for this region?
Okay, so what you do is when you set up so the question, of course, was how do I find the region, or where do I set it to only this region? So back on my resources. So we can see here that the STG sample
Was that URL again for the site? STG example.
Works.
example.azurewebsites.net. I appreciate that.
Oh, it works on
Even works on an iPad.
that. That was the first time. I'm just teasing. I built the HTML. So. Yeah, I don't do that.
So let me answer. Shanaz, let me answer. So if I am, I don't want to get there yet. So if I want to create a new web app, so while I was setting it up, it asked me also, but while I'm creating a new web app, we'll just wait here for a second. Right here, you can see the region, okay, is right now the South Central US. So if I wanted to do a new region, those are my regions available to me.
Now that doesn't mean that that's only available in those regions. That means that's where it's hosted.
Correct. So unlike I can't take the internet and say it can only be used in Utah. But my point is, this is where it's hosted.
Well, never mind.
You can actually, here's what's awesome though, you can actually set your site up to be deployed in every one of these regions. You're just going to pay a little bit to do that. But you can make it regional.
Deploy or will replicate
I think it will replicate.
to every region.
Yeah. Now, something that's more important right here. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll go ahead and do it now. So I do have a whole bunch of tips and cool things about it. We'll save those here for in a minute. But one of the coolest things that I had to do was I'm like, okay, I've got to find a reason to use Azure. And that was the hardest thing initially was okay, yeah, I know about this, but where do I start? What do I do? Well, I happen to, it's cool to build a new website, but okay, what content do I put into it? That was my biggest struggle. I'm like, okay, well, I just spend all this time now. But I did have a client who wanted a NuGet package. They really wanted to publish this SDK. And I'm like, okay, well, they have a NuGet package sitting out there. And I started looking into it. And I thought, oh, that would be kind of cool. But when I looked into it, I'm like, okay, how do I publish this NuGet package? Well, I ran into the problem where it's either production or you can't see it with NuGet. Even if I name it the same, now I suddenly have a conflict with their formal publish and my publish, and now we conflict with each other. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I looked into how do I publish privately to test. Well, turns out NuGet had a really neat little add-in on NuGet. If I actually come to manage NuGet packages,
Click over on browse right above where you are.
NuGet actually has, I'm on the install, not browse, thank you. So NuGet actually has a NuGet package called a NuGet server. I thought, okay, that's kind of weird. Well, turns out, with almost no configuration, I was able to create a privately running local NuGet server. And then I said, well, I want to be able to access this for somebody else to see. So what I did was I created a NuGet server application. It's just a nice little simple server. I'll just see what it looks like here in Visual Studio. As soon as it runs. Oh, did it already come up? Yeah. Believe me, it'll come up. There it is. Okay, so all of the things that you could do uploading NuGet packages is all done by PowerShell and various other things. But voila, there's my NuGet server, nothing fancy. But what I did was I cloud computed it. Azure and created Dan NuGet packages.azurewebsites.net, and voila, there it is. So this again is something that you can do. Now, something I was running into was kind of neat. while I was doing this, I was reading some articles on Angular, and I ran across one of the guys that's really popular, John Papa. He had a tiny URL, bit URL type of click, and I clicked on it, you know, trying to think. All of a sudden, my tiny URL turned into something.azurewebsites.net. I thought it was the coolest thing. Here's an Angular guy, really popular. He's using Azure websites to post some free content from his Pearl site videos. So one of the concepts that you can do is just use a tiny URL. So for example, I have it right here. So you can see it. Hopefully you guys can see it. Voila, it goes to my site just to prove my point. So I can publish that without advertising that I'm using the free websites. And voila, it can be taken. And people won't notice usually on the redirect. So some of the things that were kind of cool. This right now is probably the best part of my discussion in my mind is really the tips of Azure. So Azure actually produces a calculator. So again, you can try it. It doesn't hurt anything, especially if you have a subscription that just has credit. But if you really do want to look and see how much things truly cost, let's say I wanted to add some storage. Okay, we'll get some storage. Then I wanted to, let's go to virtual machines. Let's say I wanted to add a virtual machine. Okay, and let's say I wanted to deal with standard pricing, D1, 700, you know, let's say I knew I was only going to run 140 hours of a 50 gig disk drive for 3.5 gigs of RAM. This is a fairly typical virtual machine that a lot of people get. I'm running $20 a month. Okay, but so I just clicked too many virtual machines.
Minimum.
The minimum, free. Oh, for a virtual machine?
2 cents a month.
Well, let's try it. Virtual machine. Let's use basic. Let's do, now a full month is 740 hours, but let's say I just needed, you know, 2 hours, 4 cents. But what's even better is, let's say it's 2 hours and I need a basic machine. What's even better is I can come over here, and this is what I wanted to really show you, was let's say here, I do a virtual machine. Oh, come on. I'm just going through the wrong thing. Say I needed a Visual Studio. Visual Studio Ultimate, Upgrade 5 with Azure 2.82 on Windows Server.
Actually, it's good for my brother because I created a website for my brother, which is in the Cyprus. And it was nothing, just a couple of pages and images, and I paid to GoDaddy almost $200. You know.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do this. Oh, this is way cheaper.
Then I charge my brother, you have to pay $200. Then I paid 4 cents.
All right, what am
There
I?
you go.
I'm. Forgive me, I'm down in the weeds. Okay, add a resource. There it is. Okay, so here's some of the out-of-the-box things, Docker type of stuff. If I wanted to just try, so for example, if I wanted a WordPress server, or if I wanted an app with SQL, these will set up resource groups. If I wanted Visual Studio, so here we're very familiar with it. If I wanted virtual machines with these already set up and everything, I just get it. It's already set up, it's already there, it just works right out of the box. Now, some of these require you to put in your MSDN license to work, but all the software is installed and the environment's there. It's far faster to spin up a new environment here than it is to, it's the same thing as if you saved a working environment into Docker or something like that. Another one that I just ran into that was really, really interesting. Search everything. This is a popular shopping site that we have some clients at. I can set up a Magento server. Try that thing. Another one was Embraco CMS. So I could try that one. If I wanted just a CMS environment, just to tinker and see if it's a good product, or if it's something I can, use, rather than put it on a site, figure it all out. These are nice, quick starters to help you learn a product. But it's all out of the gate, and with your credit, so what if I use 2 hours? It's fine. Let's look.
There it is.
They do.
Wow.
We know these days, right?
But yes. Okay. So yeah. Don't do your credit card thing. And even if you do, there's a few things that I've learned and gathered. Basically, use the NuGet packages over just the SDKs. It's so much better. Something that's really important. Notice there was a standard pricing and a premium pricing. If you go to premium, you have a lot more features and you're paying for the site. So with premium, one of the things that they have is you now have a stage and a production lane. And they're a swap. So if you deploy to stage, you can vet it, make sure QA likes it, whatever, and then you just swap. And that immediately becomes production. They're the same environment. But that requires premium pricing. Yeah, don't use paid services unless you really, really want the opportunity for a big bill. And even the training lady was telling me don't use it unless you really want, unless you know what you're doing. Usually you can get when you do go the paid, when you're advocating a company move to the full-fledged Azure, talk with Microsoft about getting a reduced rate. These, of course, are the premium rates. They're the retail rates. They're without any agreement in place. You can also pay as you go. You can cap it, type of stuff. The other thing, too, that I thought was really good was you can actually do a standard virtual machine and then use other services, such as Docker. Docker is a product that allows you to kind of spin up a box with all sorts of stuff already set up. But there's a lot of integration in here, already set up and pre-done for you. You don't have to set it up. Another one is there's PowerShell. If you want to learn commands that will let you administer your Azure without actually going to the website, there is a large library of commands against it. The other thing they claim, and Linux is supported on all of the Azure platform. It's fully there. Various flavors of it.
I have a question, and that's the last question.
Mm-hmm. No, you're fine.
It's not a good question. There's possibility that virus goes to the cloud.
Does what?
Virus.
Virus? Virus will go where any computer is, really. But the chance here is if you save it, you can save your instances, you can save things, and you just redeploy it, delete it, redo it if you really want. You could back up your servers. You can use firewall rules to one resource group can't talk to the other resource group.
Because when you say cloud, I always imagine that Angel is on the cloud. But doesn't daemon also go to that cloud?
The awesome thing that I've learned about Azure, and granted this is all hearsay for me, but they have HIPAA compliance on Azure. They also have government Azure sites that are completely dedicated server farms specifically for government work. And so they are meeting a lot of the rules and requirements that are out there for people's needs. Something that was really interesting was every single time I create a new account, I will get a phone call from Microsoft. Just expect it. They want to hear from you. And my answer to the guy on the phone was about 30 seconds of, yeah, I'm just going to use it for development purposes. He knew I was on an MSDN subscription, so he said, sounds great. Let us know if you need anything, type of thing. That was it. Just a courtesy type call, but they are going to try to call I've created 3 accounts and I've got a phone call for every single one. The other cool thing, so one of the last things I hope will leave in your mind is that Azure, in my mind, is meant to be a hybrid solution initially for people trying to get to the cloud. You can do a lot of things locally and use parts of the cloud. Active Directory is a primary example. Office 365 is now entirely all their Azure, all their user bases on Azure. The whole intent is other cloud offerings out there don't have the tight integration to do a hybrid. It's kind of, you have to put it all up there and get it to work. And they do have hybrids, but Azure's right now, they're doing an awesome job of integrating with everything. You can see a lot of these virtual machine offerings, even an Oracle one sitting here. I haven't seen much Apple. And there was one other thing I wanted to show you. Thank you for reminding me, Troy.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
With the Xamarin. Not that one, it's this. They actually have it more of a, rather than a search, you have web and mobile. So if I wanted a mobile app, oh, it's not quite what I'm looking for. Yeah, but anyway, they have a really good integration with mobile. From trying to, you can see they're trying to make it a web plus mobile. They're trying to make this a mobile platform so that you can use APIs against, in the cloud against your mobile hitting those APIs. So you don't have to worry about that infrastructure. It lets the mom and pop type shop get up very quickly and running. Something else that I really liked too was they have Hadoop, some data lake, some mining. One of the other things that I ran into too was machine learning. This right here does come free, as I mentioned earlier. One of the guys online says, I have no idea what these algorithms do. But what I do is I have my data. I can point my machine learning tools that Microsoft gives me, and I can point to this data, and I'll try every single one of them. Oh, that's what this one matches really well. So let's use that algorithm. And he uses that as prediction. And in half an hour, just a quick learning training, he's like, yeah, now I have a prediction tool against this data. And I know what it looks like, and I know that my model works. And he didn't know anything about it. He just, voila, he's got a predicting tool. So it was pretty cool, and it's free. So there was a ton of questions, I'm sure. So go ahead.
I did all.
You did all of yours. Again, I'm not an expert, but do you have any questions, anyone? All right. Thank you, guys.